But let us now take this opportunity of inviting our next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, for our next keynote address, please join me in welcoming the CEO of NDRMF, Mr. Bilal Anwar, for his presentation.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Islamic Relief, for this opportunity. Ideally, तो होना ये चाहिए कि in a session, in an event, interaction like this, I would, of course, thank, and I do thank for this opportunity and giving the podium and the platform to share our thoughts and views. I should be articulating the kind of challenges which Pakistan is facing in the specific context of coastal resilience, but also the coastal resilience is within the broader context of the climatic challenges and the disaster challenges which Pakistan is facing. And then highlight what the different organizations, including the organization I represent here, National Disaster Risk Management Fund, what are we doing? And how we are trying to make incremental changes, the improvements here and there, and then hoping ourselves down the road, ये सारी incremental changes, they really culminate into something a lot more positive, and we should be able to save the communities who are at the front line, who are at the forefront of the impacts. Normally, इस तरह के event, इस तरह के sessions इसी तरह से होते हैं, और मैं भी बड़ा I'm really very well trained and actually in doing and handling these kind of events. But unfortunately, we are far away from any kind of ordinary situation when we specifically look into the climatic change challenges and the changes which the country is facing and the disaster challenges which the country is facing. International level se leke, domestic here for the province of Sindh and the province of Balochistan, the two provinces which are on the coastal belt of Pakistan. We have the data, we have a lot of information. We have heard from our, earlier on in the morning from one of our researchers. I think that's the very best way of illustrating the challenges which the fisherman is presenting. The perspective of the fisherman, it was very clearly articulated. I don't think any one of us here, the practitioners, we can actually deal better than that. Some of the words actually stuck into my head. We have lost our income. We have lost our perception and the perspective of the sea, because we have been living all our lives around the sea, and we've been living and making our living around the sea. And they have losing their perspective, they're losing their culture, they have losing the mode of their life. I think this is the challenge. This is the crux of the challenge. This is the criticality of the issue which we are dealing with here today. So congratulations to Islamic Relief for bringing us together here. And I'm sure that they have a number of reasons why they picked up this particular challenge and what they want to hear from us. So many congratulations. And I think this is a very particular challenge, which is very pertinent. And it's a very fitting, but at the same time, is highly neglected as well. Now, why we are not in an ordinary situation, जैसे extraordinary or disruptive भी कहा जा सकता है. The word is very in, actually, in the lexicon, in the terminology these days. Once upon a time, disruption was negative connotation, but now it's very positive. But I think in a specific context where we are today, it is not positive, it is negative. When the lives of the fishermen is disrupted, that's not positive. When the farmers are losing their land to the intrusion of the sea, it's not positive. When we know that the communities are losing their homes, it's absolutely not positive, and it's absolutely not ordinary. 2023 was a particular year when we look into the climate change, even globally particular year, when there was the disruptions or the disasters or the human or economic toll which the societies around the world face was particularly high. I don't want to quote here a lot of numbers, but one number might be a very interesting here. Increase from cyclones or the sea storms and the number of deaths from cyclone related around the world increased just in 2023, 348%. Now, just try to absorb this number, 348%. I don't know what is the contribution in 348% of Pakistan. I'm sure that quite a significant, but I think we need to do some data crunching. We need to do some kind of analysis and to find out, okay, what is our fair share? And that might not be actually the fair share, because we might not have been be contributing into this mess, but we certainly are at the forefront of it. Now, let me share you a few more numbers actually, which might be quite interesting for you as well. More domestic, more localized numbers, which are more relevant to us. We know that Pakistan, the average surface temperature increase, Pakistan has been more on the higher end as compared to global average temperature increase. The global average temperature increase, which is forecast, is going to be around 3.8 degree, and we know from the Paris targets that anything which is beyond 2 degrees centigrade is going to be resulting into irreversible, destructive challenges which the humanity is going to face. And Pakistan is on the higher verge, on the higher edge of that. We are actually on a lot more than the 3.8% which is being forecasted. Our, the sea levels, more relevant to the topic which we're talking here, the sea level rise because of the, well, first of all, I think it's interesting to note the average sea temperature rise as well, which is also, especially for the Arabian Sea, which is also quite considerably higher than the global sea level average temperature increase as well around the region and around the EEZ, which Pakistan actually represent. The sea level rise is forecasted to be from 30 to 80 centimeters just before the turn of this century. And it might sound like a very long period of time. Yes, from our life perspectives, it is. But I think when we're talking about the national priorities, when we're talking about the nations and the civilizations and the countries, I think this is absolutely not a long period of time. We're talking about a very short window of the time, and I think we need to take some action. The number of displacement and the social implications and the demographic implications which the country is going to face, they are going to be humongous. They're going to be really irreversible in the coming years and the coming decades. So the challenge is really severe, and the challenge is now. It's not something which actually we can take in a piecemeal manner and we can actually address it somewhere and or to leave it for the future generations to address it. A lot has been said since this morning, and of course we have taken a very good note of it, and we do appreciate the efforts which are being undertaken by the governments, but as well as all the actors from academia as well as non-governmental actors and a number of other institutions as well. But I think especially, I could see a little bit of a kind of a disconnect between the panel which were sitting here, and I can even actually see that there is going to be a disconnect between what I am saying here and what the people are actually sitting over there. And one of the wonderful thing actually Islamic Relief has done it, they have actually invited the people from the communities, and the fisherman and the gentleman, wo jo sahab abhi baat kar rahe the, and I found him really knowledgeable, and that's where we need to actually learn that how to practice and how to design our programs and actions from these group of people. So what I could see that there was a disconnect. There was the government and the non-government and the practitioners, they were of the view, and I can include myself as well, including National Disaster Risk Management Fund as well, that we believe and we see that we are actually undertaking a number of measures. We are doing our level best in order to safeguard the communities, come up with the programs which are going to be implemented or which are being implemented, and they are going to result into some kind of protection, some kind of safeguard. They are going to be revive the livelihood of these communities who have lost their the fishing practices or their arable land or their houses or their livelihood in one way or the other. That's all very well appreciated. But I think the underlying message, maybe it was clear to both ends of the spectrum, at the podium as well as in the audience, was very, very clear, and it was resoundingly clear that we need to do a lot more, and we need to do a lot more in a lot more integrated and coordinated fashion. Yes, I think this is the message which at least which I could hear between the lines, and this is what we need to do in order to take this task task forward. I'll talk about climate finance as well. This is my favorite topic. I kind of shyly and reluctantly call myself as an expert in climate finance, having been working in this particular area for last more than 25 years. But I think Dr. Simi Kamal mentioned in her comments as well, we shouldn't be waiting to the international community because it takes a lot of time. Living Indus, Recharge Pakistan, GLOF. Luckily, we only have 3 or 4 projects from GCF. तो हमें अपनी memories के ऊपर ज़्यादा बोझ नहीं डालना पड़ता उनको list down करने में. So and that took us, I think cumulatively, अगर हम उस time को add up करना शुरू कर दें, I think cumulatively that might have taken them more than 12 or 13 years. I've done a little bit of addition when you were actually talking about it. So I think a fundamental question which we should be really asking ourselves is कि 2 या 3 projects की cumulative जो funding है वो शायद 200 million के करीब होगी या 210 या 220 million के करीब होगी. उसके लिए 12 से 14 साल का time period, does it make any economic sense? It doesn't make any economic sense. But still, we carry on and we happily keep on talking about the climate finance. We happily keep on talking about adaptation finance and all these different international funds which are out there. And with an illusion, with a kind of a misunderstanding that the funding is just out there, all we need to do is just stretch our hand and actually pluck the funding out of those funds. That's not the case. International climate finance is incredibly competitive. Almost 90% of the finance is project finance. What that means is we need to bring together, we need to come up with a very good project which can compete with international standard, which can pass through the realms of the 6 investment criteria of GCF, which can actually identify or satisfy and comply the requirements and the number of requirements. So the cumulative result is for 3 or 4 projects, you need 12 years of cumulative time, and then you can actually have 120 or 220 or 230 million, which of course is less than peanuts for the kind of a challenge which we are facing on our coastlines, the challenge which we are facing on a number of other fronts as well. So I think this is, what I'm doing is, I'm just identifying the challenges, and that's never a good idea. So where is the solution? And the solution is, what we are not doing is, there are 2 ways of doing things. I think one thing which we are not doing is, we haven't really taken an effort, we haven't really taken a step forward in terms of looking at, so what is the definition of climate finance? What does it stand for? There is no agreed definition of climate finance at international level. There are operational, there are functional definitions which everyone applies, the different institutions apply. Now, the financing and the money which is being earmarked or being spent from government of Pakistan's own public finance, or from private sector, or from non-governmental organizations like Islamic Relief and many others, that is not really accounted for climate finance. And that's what is weakening our case at the international level when we go to the international conferences or COPs or any other international forums, and we say that, okay, we are facing these challenges, we don't have the finances, and but at the same time, we get the response that, okay, tell us what you're doing by yourself. So we're not really accounting the money which we are spending, which very classically and fittingly fit into the climate finance domain. And we're not doing that because we just haven't developed the accounting procedures for that. It's as simple as that. Haven't done the accounting procedures. That's why we have not been able to really claim that work and claim that huge amount of the financing which actually goes into all these kind of the measures. So मुझसे पहले हमारे colleagues ने वो सारे measures का बताया जो इस वक्त किए जा रहे हैं, and many of them actually very nicely fit into the adaptation measures. Many of them actually fit into the coastal resilience or wetland revival, a number of other even mitigation measures as well. So I think this is a simple measures which needed to be done, and we can actually bring to the international community that, okay, we are already spending an X amount of money from our own resources, and based on that, what we can do is we can now leverage the climate finance out of it. So, and there are ways and there are mechanisms, there are methodologies of doing that which you have not been able to do so as well. What we want is, we want a project and we want the funding for that project only, and then once we have successfully done that, we actually want to move to the next project, and we want to mobilize the financing for that project. So we have been actually not only reactive, but we have been very project-to-project basis kind of approach which we've been carrying forward. Now the problem is, nature doesn't work like this. Coastal resilience is not only that you build the walls around the coastline. Yes, mangroves are the kind of the walls, the nature walls, and we should be building that. And it's kind of it's good to see that the kind of work which is being undertaken is bearing the fruits as well. But at the same time, there are a number of other ecosystems which are related to the coastal resilience, and they are very much interconnected. They are gelling together, and that's how the program measures, and that's how the adaptive measures which we need to come up, and that's how we should be actually trying to leverage the financing from our own resources as well. Now, this is, I will be unfair to my own institution if I don't mention about that. This is a kind of approach which NDRMF is actually adopting, not only for the coastal, but for the overall investing approach which we are adopting, which is integrated approach. So we do not want to work only in agriculture sector, coastal resilience, or urbanization, or green buildings, but we want to work on the programs which are interconnected with each other, and which are actually interlinked with each other. So that's the approach which we are adopting, because we believe that with this we can mobilize financing, we can leverage the financing based on our own financing from international resources, from regional sources, as well as from the private sector, because they see this a lot more beneficial, a lot more overarching approach in doing so. I think this is the kind of approach which we need to adopt, which we need to implement at the provincial level, at the federal level, but down from the provincial to the district level as well. So, little bit kind of a uncomfortable situation I think I might have created here, but I think the benefit of forums like these is that one can actually talk freely, and of course when someone is like myself is talking freely, we are also kind of reflecting on our own self as well, that how we can actually improve ourselves, refine ourselves as well. I think this is a kind of invitation, a message we want to leave behind. I thank you very much.